with the University of Texas at Austin. My other presenter today is Michael. Michael, go ahead and say hi.
Good morning, everybody. This is Michael Adiemo, Coordinator of Informal Recreation here at Sam Houston State University.
So Michael and I today are part of the Region 4 Facility Operations Committee that's been put together. We're spearheaded by Jenna, and we are here today to talk a little bit about some survey and some questions that people might have as we get closer to our facilities reopening. So first, we wanted to say thank you very much on behalf of the Facility Operations Committee for joining us today. We understand we're all in different phases of our reopening approaches, or maybe we are open. And so we understand time is short and precious. So thank you very much for joining us. Today, we plan on reviewing some of the information that was collected from from a survey that was sent out to Region 4 members, I think on July 22nd. And so thank you very much for those of you who took the time to participate in that survey and provide us with some information for us to talk about today. And while we have some conversational questions built into today's conversation, if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to share them in the chat function or send them directly to Michael or myself, and we'll do our best to work them into today's conversation with the time that we've got. If along the way that we're going too fast or we're saying too much, please let me know and we can slow down. But otherwise, let's jump into what we've got. So of the survey that was submitted, we had received 38 responses across members from the Region 4. And that survey, if you didn't have a time to take to review those questions, it addressed everything from different statuses of our facilities and adjustments that have been made to address challenges that have been presented by COVID-19. So of the responses that we were able to collect, we'll dive into some of that now. So first, the facility statuses. Of those responses that we got, 21 of our respondents indicated that their facilities are currently open in some way, shape, or form. 17 of our member institutions have facilities that remain closed at the time of the survey. Now, we understand that your status may have changed since your submission of your information, but at this time, at the time of the data collection, we had 21 facilities that were open and 17 that remained closed. 31 of our 38 respondents had indicated that our facilities plan to reopen in a phased approach, meaning that they have multiple spaces or multiple facilities, that those facilities would be reopened in a phased approach, so that not everything was just kind of thrown out there in bulk. 7 of our member institutions have indicated that they plan on opening all of their facilities at once and not rolling out with a phased approach. And then of those respondents that we were able to collect, 21 facilities indicated that they have implemented an appointment-based system for facility access. 16 of our respondents have indicated they do not or did not plan to use an appointment-based system, meaning that if you were going to one of our member institution facilities, you would need to request a reservation or an appointment before accessing their facility, and that's something new for most of us if we're instituting it, which 21 of our facilities have. Michael, anything you want to add to that?
Pretty much when it comes to going open, we kind of really stress on whether it was pure straight opening, there's going to be any major changes or any phase. And like obviously, you know, with the facilities opening, there's going to be policy changes in terms of like, you know, there's something which I believe is out next. We can just go ahead and take care of that one there. So as far as results from the survey, 40% of respondents will be requiring students and employees to wear a face mask at all times. 33% are requiring the full-time staff to wear face masks at all times, and then 26% is requiring all the participants to wear a face mask. With social distancing, which is kind of a very big aspect of COVID-19 in itself, most schools, going up to a good 98%, are enforcing 6 feet or more within.
So I guess our first question for this team would be, knowing that information, knowing that the majority of us are instituting face coverings of some sort and requiring a minimum of 6 foot distance between participants and their interactions with our staff or in our activity spaces. What is your plan for participants who decide not to abide by our adjusted policies, meaning they plan to come to your facilities and they don't want to wear a face mask while working out or participating, or they don't plan on abiding by your social distancing requirements?
I'll chime in, Ross. It's CMAC over here at UT Dallas. We've been told that those that don't abide by the policies we haven't set in place will be sent to the Dean of Students office, and they will have to deal with the wrath of that.
I guess the Dean of Students is better to deal with than the wrath of CMAC.
I guess that's partially true, yes. The Code of Conduct office, all that good stuff. I mean, I'm a dad now, so I'm a lot more harsh, I guess.
This is Jeremy Chance here with the University of Kansas. We're fortunate, I guess, that the university has instituted a mask policy across campus. So probably similar to CMAC there. Any issues can, we've got the backing of the university to support that, and not just, rec services specific policy. So they're being, expected to wear them anywhere on campus, including in our facility.
Yeah, Ross. Christian Miller, Texas A&M. Similar to Jeremy and CMAC, we're in the same boat that has a campus-wide mask policy. Ours is a little different because rec sports as an entity had an exemption at the beginning of that, which expired a couple weeks into it. So there was a transition period after that. Folks have been pretty understanding, but obviously there's a large group of new students coming in who may or may not be used to those policies that we've been running with all summer. UPD on campus has already announced that they will not be assisting in the enforcement of those policies. So our jurisdiction kind of at the moment ends with us and our professional staff and students. But then afterwards, similar to what others have said, we will be reporting to student affairs, human resources, if it's a staff, or the dean of faculties, if it happens to be a faculty member.
Awesome, Christian. Thank you. That was going to be one of my follow-up questions. Was I knew that you guys had had a conversation about maybe utilizing university police, but it sounds like they're not going to be helping enforce that policy. So that's a good change to know.
Christian, sorry, real quick. Are your members required to wear masks while exercising? Is that where that kind of exemption was in place, but then was expired?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Initially, we received one for any time they were participating in physical activity, so they had to have it when they entered the facility or were moving about. But then that went away, and it is now at all times unless they are in a body of water.
Sure.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
So one approach that Sam Houston was taking on, we actually got our mask order to wear on campus a couple weeks ago. But a unique approach that Rec Sports is taking is, in the event that someone is saying, they don't have to wear a mask, or they have a disability that says they don't have to wear a mask, they have to be registered with our school disability office. So we have a very solid relationship with them. So we just contact the director, and if they're on that list, then we're good to go. No one's been on our list yet, and we all know that students are crafty. So we get a couple of the little fake, I don't have to wear a mask cards, and then as soon as we mention, oh, we just had to call the office to verify, they get nervous and they go grab one. So.
Yeah, I'll touch on that point real quick too, Michael. We also have an exemption process that folks can go through for medical or religious purposes. But even if they receive that exemption, they're required to then wear a face shield. So we don't allow anybody in the facility with no sort of face covering. They would still have to wear a face shield even if they receive that exemption.
And Christian, are you all providing that face shield, or is it
We
on
are
the
not.
individual?
We would provide it for our student employees if they were doing it while on shift, but folks coming in to exercise would have to provide their own.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone who provided some input. We appreciate your willingness to contribute today. We all know that we've sat through enough of these roundtables that if there's not a whole lot of contribution, that it can get like pulling teeth. So thank you very much for everyone who has contributed and plans to contribute as we go through this. So continuing on with some of our results that we saw, our survey indicated that if you're looking at activities that are planned on being permitted within our facilities, basketball, volleyball, climbing wall operations, and then team sports like your club sport operations, pick up IM play like basketball and soccer and volleyball. Those activities are going to be the most heavily restricted, with all of them ranking at least 70% or higher of our respondents indicating that there will be heavily restricted or not permitted at all. So at least 70% in each of the classifications for basketball, volleyball, climbing wall operations, team sport play, that those activities are either going to be heavily restricted or not permitted upon the initial reopenings following COVID-19. What was interesting to us was that the outdoor spaces that our facilities feature was almost the complete opposite, that 72% of respondents indicated that they are not restricting or lightly restricting activities at outdoor facilities. And this struck a chord with me. I oversee some of our outdoor satellite facilities for the University of Texas at Austin. And we're planning on having some restrictions in our play as far as what people can and can't do at our outdoor facilities. And so that was interesting to see, that, to me anyway, that it was a complete opposite compared to indoor activities. So if anyone wanted to touch on, if you oversee outdoor spaces, and for those that may or may not be restricting activities, I'd love to have a conversation with that. And if one of the questions that was just asked was, if you're not enforcing restrictions at outdoor facilities, how do you intend to enforce those restrictions if they're very light? So we can talk about that if anyone wants to comment on specifically outdoor spaces.
Just to provide some additional context for that question. So here at KU, we do have, an outdoor turf field, some outdoor, grass spaces, and then volleyball, tennis courts. And, we certainly have signage out there, limiting the number of people participating, but those aren't spaces that we actively supervise or have staff out there. So I'm curious, for those that have other in similar situations, how do you intend to enforce those restrictions in those spaces?
Well, I'm happy to speak about what we plan to do at the University of Texas at Austin. And originally, when we reopen our facilities, the plan is that we staff our outdoor spaces anyway. That's part of my 40-person outdoor satellites team. And so at first, we will allow, like, if I wanted to pass the ball back and forth with Mike, like a soccer ball or football, we would allow that as long as they bring their own equipment. But activity needs to be kept to 10 people or less, and that's per a city ordinance, I think, from the governor or either from the mayor. So groups have to be 10 people or less of activity. So, and they can do drills, they can pass balls back and forth, but contact games and sports are not going to be permitted. And that will be something that our team is going to have conversations about as they roam our facilities and walk our facilities.
That's pretty much the same method that we take here at SAM, except we're not lucky enough to have an outdoor facility staff. We have our IM fields and our tennis courts. So with our IM fields, they're easy to access, easy to walk up to. So I guess for us, it really depends on the time of day. I usually see people out there in the evenings whenever I'm leaving work. So at that point, if they're shooting around, just passing a ball back and forth, I'm not going to think anything of it. But if they're playing like a full organized sport, then that's something to do. Our real tricky part is our tennis courts, because we actually share that with our athletics department. Well, let me take that back. We oversee the tennis courts. The coach just thinks that we share it. So with that one, we just make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing on the court. So like if there's rollerblading or people take their animals out there, then we use that as our end of like, hey, you know, you can't be here. That's in pretty much us in a nutshell.
Thank you for everyone who again contributed to that conversation. There is a follow-up question about if the stats that we indicated were allowing pickup games or team sports at outdoor spaces. That would be included in the restrictions that I had mentioned, that we are looking to limit both informal rec and team sport activities. So if our club sports were to come out to our outdoor satellites, they would be allowed to, again, if let's talk ultimate frisbee, they'd be allowed to pass a frisbee back and forth up to 10 people, but they could not run a full contact simulation game. They could do drills, they could do one-way drills, but we would not allow them to have like a contact drill where maybe a defender's trying to cover somebody. So they'd be able to run routes, but not necessarily have defenders covering them. If that makes sense, Jamaica, did that answer your question that you were asking?
Yeah, it does. And kind of what you added when you spoke about what you're doing, that answered it as well. So thank you.
And Christy, the same thing. I saw your question also about club teams to practice with 10 or less people. Again, it would be a similar style setup where our club practices, they could come and do conditioning. They could come and do drills, like one-way drills, but not necessarily do, like I said, a contact practice or a full-on scrimmage.
Are you kind of approaching the indoor club teams as the same? Do you know, or?
At the University of Texas, we are, yes.
Okay.
All of our clubs are going to fall under, and we're actually seeing that some of our indoor clubs may be requesting outdoor practice space because if they can't do, like, let's take a club that might be a martial art club and they can't do full contact grappling, then they may ask for some space outside to do some conditioning drills and just let them run wind sprints and suicides.
So are y'all not, is anyone allowing, is anyone having intramural sports take place, like flag football, indoor volleyball, indoor soccer, 2-on-2 basketball?
Hey, Christy, this is Christian with Texas A&M. We have not yet finalized what our programming schedule is going to be or our activities for the fall, but I know our intramurals area is looking to do softball just because of the natural physical distancing that happens, like your interaction. And they're looking to offer modified versions of some of the traditional sports. I don't know what those look like yet. I could get you their contact information, but I know the last one I heard them talking about was 4-on-4 outdoor soccer, and I'm guessing those games would probably just be 15 minutes or shorter. And I don't know what the contact rule would be, but I know they are trying to do some of those traditional sports in addition to like stand volleyball and some of those ones that have a little more built-in physical distancing already.
Do you know how they're going to get around the 10-person rule with softball?
That I don't know. As of right now, our university has the next, I don't know if you want to call it deadline or review date for that 10-person rule is September 18th. It's 30 days after the start of our classes, which would be just a little bit later than what they would have normally started that programming anyway. So I'm guessing they're hoping that by that point, that 10-person rule is no longer in effect. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So with that going forward, we then kind of move on to rental equipment. So from the survey, we had 82 respondents plan to permit rental equipment usage whenever their facilities are open and operational. This includes from sport equipment, fitness equipment, towels and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to just see how that's looking for you guys, because here at SAM, we're not allowing any form of rental equipment besides our rental towels, because you have to have a towel for the weight room. In terms of our rental equipment, usually includes stuff like weight belts, jump ropes, bands like that. If patrons want to bring their own, that's fine and dandy. We just aren't allowing rental right now. And it kind of works out in us on the positive side, because the majority of our crowd in our facility usually play basketball, and we have shut down our courts. We have 4 high school length basketball courts within our facility, so we shut down courts 1 and 2, moved a lot of our cardio equipment over there to kind of help out with density mitigation, and use courts 3 and 4 as a functional training space, as well as an open space with that. So if you guys have any expertise in terms of like how are you going about cleaning your equipment, which I believe is there we go. If you guys want to share information as far as like if you are allowing rental equipment, how are you going about keeping it clean, keeping it safe, what solutions are you using, stuff like that.
Hey, Christy from TCU. So we opened on last Monday, and we didn't change our equipment checkout process. We're still checking out basketballs, game room equipment, racquetball, rackets, stuff like that. We're cleaning it when we give it to you. We're also cleaning it when we take it back in. We're cleaning them with gym wipes. And we also have spray bottles with Simple Green and rags. And one of the questions I have later on is we literally are just now moving in our freshmen today, and we are blowing through the rags and gym wipes, and just wondering if anybody else was using towels, or if you're giving people something when they come in to clean their own personal equipment with, so we can do that later. And then as far as outdoor programs go, our climbing wall opened yesterday, and then when school starts, we will do checkout equipment, like tents and sleeping bags, but only for the weekends. So you take it on a Friday and return it on a Monday, and gives them those 5 days to clean everything.
Thank you, Chrissy. That's some great information, especially things I didn't think about, like our outdoor programs. My teammate Dixon might be, but that's not on my radar right now. So I know that
we are allowing basketball. I know a lot of people aren't, but we're limiting it to 4 people per half court. So no pickup play, but they can shoot around, and I've seen a little bit of like one-on-one play, but we are requiring them to wear their masks when they play basketball.
Have patrons been consistent with that, with like following that policy?
Oh no, we already had, we've had a lot of hate mail, and one faculty staff member already unjoined. So we actually lost, they took away all of our community members, all of our alumni memberships, all faculty, staff, spouse, and dependents. So we will only have current students and faculty staff, and we had to terminate all of our faculty staff memberships, and they had to all rejoin. So that part's been a little crazy. I personally think you're dealing with the 1 or 2 that are being a little difficult about the mask. I personally called one yesterday and was like, if you don't wear a mask, you don't come in the building. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. Because he had been really nasty to a few of my staff members. But once I go in there and say, hey guys, do you want us to stay open? Because we want to stay open. And if you don't wear your mask, we're not going to stay open. And then they usually catch on.
No, and I agree with that. I know for us, we opened back on July 1st, and then we're going to open again on the 15th, so this Saturday, and we're only allowing current students, staff, and faculty to come in. Our staff and faculty have been very, very easygoing for the most part. We get a couple that kind of flip out about the whole mask thing, but I'm like, your membership is free here. So I mean, either if you can't abide by that one rule, then why are you here to begin with? So
I'm pleasantly surprised with them. I think that they get it. They understand what we're doing. But there's there's the Karen. I have a few Karens that that's their daily goal, is to come and see who's not wearing them.
Yep.
I'll chime in. KU equipment checkout. So we are restricting. As of yesterday, we have 1 hoop available for shooting hoops. So we have a couple of those basketballs available. So we will be using the Germ Ninja with UV light after a ball comes back in for cleaning. But as far as racket sports balls, we use Virex, the spray, and then we have a set of towels for equipment. So they'll wipe those down as they come in. And then same thing with some of our fitness equipment. So we check out squat belts, dip belts, ab wheels, those bands, resistance bands. So similar process, we're spraying the rag down, wiping those down. And then for things like the squat belts, TRX straps that may take a little longer to dry, we're hanging those to dry, and then a squat belt is unavailable until it's completely dried. To kind of respond to that, we purchased other squat belts and dip belts that are nylon, so a little easier, may dry a little quicker than your traditional leather belts. So we're hoping that'll help out a little bit as we dive into the semester. But yeah, reusable, washable towels and Virex is what we have out in the facility as well for members to wipe down equipment as well.
So we are not using a specific like gym wipe or towel system. We've actually gone away from, we had communal towels up throughout our facility for participants to use to wipe down equipment, but part of our reopen policy will be that they have to bring their own towel to wipe down fitness equipment. We will provide cleaning solution. In fact, we have now mounted spray bottles on every single piece of available equipment, so it hits them right in the face as they're using the facility or using the equipment, that there's a spray bottle, and we put instruction labels on it, because you'd be surprised at how many people don't know how to use a spray bottle. But we're also, we have electrostatic sprayers that we plan on using a chlorinated solution for spot cleanings and in between use and reservations. But when we go back to allowing equipment checkout, we will also use that to spray down our equipment. However, at this time, the University of Texas is not going to be issuing rental equipment at the start when we reopen.
Did you say you're making them bring their own towel to clean the equipment?
Yeah, so our policy is going to be that everyone who comes to our facility needs to have at least one towel, and the purpose of that towel is to clean the equipment that they use, is to wipe down the machines that they use. If they want a towel for their own perspiration or to wipe their brow, then they get to bring 2 towels. We do have the only rental that we will be doing at the start will be our towel service, and we're not doing full-size showering towels anymore. We're just doing the half-size, what used to be like personal towels that I think are like 11 by 16 or something like that. And so those would be part of the solution that people can use to wipe down machines or themselves. But that's the purpose of the towel, is not for them to wipe their brow. If they only bring one towel, it's to clean the equipment. Any other questions related to equipment disinfecting and?
Well, yeah, if we could we jump a little bit into what anybody else is requiring in their weight room? Is anybody solely using gym wipes? We're trying to figure out, we're providing the spray bottles, but is anybody providing reusable rags instead of the disposable?
So here at SAM, it's just been pretty easy. We have gym wipes throughout our weight room, and we have an electrostatic spray that we use for after hours and things. Ours is just strictly more on the policy enforcement. Just making sure that patrons are cleaning their machines before and after the usage, which has actually been kind of interesting to see. It's interesting now because before our staff just struggled with getting people to do that, or they would clean it themselves. Now I'm seeing other patrons interacting with other patrons like, hey, you just used this bench, are you not going to clean it? And so that's actually been kind of a godsend. So, but for the most part, a lot of it's just been gym wipes. We do have towel rags that we use for like our bit more frequently used equipment, and then we have wire brushes that we use for our dumbbells and barbells. Just to get out like all the gritty parts, and we use like WD-40 for that, or Simple Green.
And then are you having a hard time keeping up with gym wipes or actually getting them or ordering them?
We were fortunate enough to order like a lot before this all really hit. And right now, so now trying to get some more, it has been a struggle. But because in terms of the only facilities that really use it within our building is our weight room and our our private weight room, which we call the HKC, that's used for academic classes, is in certain clubs and organizations, but that one's been shut down. No one really goes in there anymore. So we kind of took those wipes and moved them over. And we'll probably have more by the time fall rolls around when academics is back.
Hey, Kirsty, I'll chime in here as the University of Kansas does use reusable towels for cleaning equipment. So they're just kind of 12 by 12. We have them stacked throughout the facility, kind of where we have all of all the fitness equipment. And we have, the Virex, the spray bottles, kind of in each of those locations. So in addition to providing more areas where we have those towels stacked, we've added additional dirty laundry bins for them to kind of throw those in as well. And then my facility staff and then our fitness floor staff will, periodically go and refresh those and then wash them in our, wash and dryer that we have. But yeah, we are using reusable kind of to combat that limited supply. We're fortunate that that's a model that we've used prior to all this stuff happening, but we're fortunate for that.
We use gym wipes, and we've faced the same struggles everyone else has with getting those in. One of the things we realized was that our students were pretty good at wiping down the equipment when they were done, but they would also use a gym wipe for one piece of equipment and then toss it. So if they're doing a full workout, they may use 15, 20 gym wipes. They started placing signs on all of the dispensers saying, these are effective for 3 to 4 pieces of equipment. Please be conscious of that. But outside of the participants, we also have staff in there who are literally just walking around the whole time, monitoring usage, spraying down stuff. Even if it's just been used for somebody to sit down for a second, they'll come back behind them and spray it down with rags as well, just to prevent using more gym wipes.
I could chime in real quick. This is Oscar down at UTRGV. Our county now is a hotspot, so I mean our numbers aren't super high, but we did transition from reusable rags to paper towels. So we do use paper products with our cleaning solution still. And so what we kind of did is we have sanitation stations throughout the facility. So we installed multiple paper towel dispensers around the facility where we could, but we also have small tables with cleaning solution and trifold napkins there that they can use, and they've been pretty good about it. We've added some additional staff on the floor that are reinforcing our policies, making sure the patrons are just following those rules. And it's a quick little talking point with each person, like, hey, just make sure you wipe down your machine, make sure you're doing your part. So it was really a big part in training up our staff too, and making sure that they're having that one-on-one communication with the patrons. And so being that the numbers are so low right now, it's been kind of easy. So we're kind of interested to see how this works transitioning into the fall semester with getting some more kiddos on campus.
So the next question that we pulled actually from some of the survey respondents. The next 3 questions I think are all pulled from the survey. And one of the questions that came up was, how are we planning to do staff trainings or like staff events to help boost morale? Because we all understand that this is a different fall than our students have seen before. And so if you had any special things that you were doing or how you're planning to do your staff trainings, and you wanted to share that with our region, that'd be much appreciated.
To kind of start the trend off here, I mean, first, I think it's very safe to say that Zoom has been all of our best friend since all of this started. We had a kind of a welcome back to schools, welcome back to Rec Sports staff training when we opened for July 1st, where we showcased all the returning staff for that summer, all the big changes that we did in response to COVID-19. So in terms of policies, memberships, the weight room, et cetera, since then, we kind of took that opportunity to kind of revamp that presentation, and we'll be showing that at our all staff training, which is actually this Friday. In regards to our individual program areas, I believe each pro staff has found ways to come up with some form of interaction with their staff. Something that we do with our informal staff, because we have the largest staff in our department and on campus, is that we divide our staff into 3 teams, like orange, white, and blue. Our Sam Houston colors. I have to say that Sam Houston blue is not official Sam Houston color for any alumni on here, just in case. But we keep track of them, of how they do in terms of shifts that they work, taking initiative, going above and beyond. And we've divided their supervisors to be their captains. So then they can host, like, the idea that we're trying to propose to them is to, they host individual Zooms that myself and our graduate assistant Alyssa will kind of oversee, just to make sure that nothing goes crazy on there. And they'll use it as like team meetings to discuss, like, how events will go on, and points will accumulate from that. And then the winning team will get something. We just don't know what that something is. But that's something that we were really good at doing in person. With COVID, everything's going to be on Zoom. Jeremy, to answer your question, that our all staff training will be on Zoom as well. So with that, we made a Zoom event. Our marketing director made the event, and I kind of made a separate one to keep track of all the staff members that are coming back. If actually our cutoff date was yesterday, so anyone that did not respond, I have to assume that they are no longer returning to rec sports, and they'll get a nice little email from me. But that's pretty much how we're handling it here.
Yeah, at the University of Texas, most of our trainings they're kind of a hybrid. A lot of the general overview welcome trainings will all be done remotely through Zoom and other platforms. But we do feel it's necessary to have our staff come through and see the changes that we've made, and allow them to actually get a little bit of sense of ease. So we've been doing 10-person training sessions. Well, it's been a little less than that because we also have to factor in the people leading the trainings, but we have been walking groups of returning staff through our facilities so they can see the changes that we've made and understand when we open our facility that it's not going to be completely brand new to them, that we've been able to walk them through and see what those changes look like. It also gives them an opportunity to ask some in-person questions and to get some answers that hopefully might make them feel better and a little bit more safe and comfortable about coming back to work, not just hearing it through a computer screen and through speakers. And so a lot of our individual group, like facility operations teams, will continue to do Zoom meetings throughout the course of the semester, just because of the base of the size of the numbers of our teams. But when possible, we will try to celebrate accomplishments of our teammates and boost morale by, giving positive shout outs or doing little things here or there, however we can.
One of the things I know we're doing here at UTRGV, we're transitioning a lot of the individual departmental areas to Blackboard training. So a lot of online acknowledgements. So they're going through their own coursework, through whether it's PowerPoints they can go through or little presentations, pre-recordings that we can do ourselves in those respective areas. But we are going to do an all-call, pretty much Zoom meeting with the entire staff. On that, like, our director will pretty much give like a state of the union, what we're doing here. And then it'll be a little bit more COVID geared, as far as what the changes look like and things like that. So they're going to get their standard, what we give them every year training via Blackboard, just because we don't want to drag out an all staff training over multiple hours on Zoom. We feel like we kind of lose them a little bit. So that meeting with everybody is really just going to be COVID updates, possibly some sort of pre-recorded facility tour or something like that. Just to kind of give them an idea of what the changes are going to look like given the implications of the virus and things like that. So that's kind of how we split ours up, so that they're able to get all the information that they need, but then also they get to kind of have that talking point with us and that touch point, given that big meeting with everybody.
One follow-up question I wanted to build off of this too was if there are any aquatics teammates or any people, any lifeguard supervisors on this call, that how you might be factoring in service if you have to meet certain amount of hours each month, like like the state of Texas has to do 4 hours of in-service training each month with lifeguards. And I know some of those skills you can do through webinars and Zoom calls, but how do you do the physical aspect of your in-service trainings?
Hey guys, my name is Kelsey Eggleston and I'm the aquatic manager and ops manager for Texas Southern University. And one way that I am attacking that is I have actually I signed up for the National Drowning Prevention Alliance. And what they do is they send you emails of every single drowning here in Texas. I'm taking that email, I resend it to my work email, my TSU email. I send it out to my guards and they have to come up with the EAP plan and they write it out. Because for me, I get multiple different EAP plans and then I get on a Zoom call and I'm able to, I have 8 guards and I'm able to talk about their EAP plans and kind of compare them based on our EAP plan for the university. So I can, and I'm just opening it up to you guys, if any of you would like the current ones within all the ones within the last month in July, I can send those over to you. If you have to, submit hours for August, I don't mind because I already have them filed and on file. So guys, that's what I'm doing. It's worked out well and great. I love it. And you get questions and feedback in your Zoom on why did it happen? How could it have been prevented? A lot of them for us in Texas are happening in the San Jacinto River with less lifeguards. Drownings have gone up. So if you're in the aquatics, kind of world or industry, you can kind of understand what's going on. So I'm just opening that conversation up. If any of you guys need it, I'm open to sending you those articles. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. That sounds like a great resource. I'm not necessarily over our aquatics team, but I think that that's something, hopefully that our students would take something away from, because it's a lot of times they go through their in-services and may not think, they might not approach it with the earnesty that they might have to, but seeing, real life evidence of drownings that happen, it's something that could maybe drive that point home a little bit more. Another question that was in our survey, which we've talked a little bit about already, but I know that we addressed intramural sports and club sport participation. But how about group fitness classes? When we reopen, what are teams planning on doing for programs like group fitness, intramural sports, and club sports?
I can say for Sam, in terms of group fitness, with everything going on since March, we were doing online group fitness classes, online personal training sessions. Now that we are opening for the fall, we are limiting the amount of students that can attend a group fitness class to, I believe, 10. And I believe we've revamped our reservation system as far as how that goes. They usually have to sign up through Fusion or through our Fusion Go app. I still believe they had that option, but there's also another option I unfortunately can't remember off the top of my head. But the biggest thing is that usually you have to buy a group fitness pass. However, this semester our classes are free. So and personally I feel like that should be a expectation with the privilege of being a student. But since we have made them free, we're now getting more active, I guess more questionnaires about group fitness classes and stuff like that. In terms of our intramurals department, they've worked really, really hard with everything going on. Esports was pretty much the ideal thing going all the way up to opening. I know right now they are working on making modifications in terms of things inside the facility. So that's something our intramural coordinator, Jake Walker, and my supervisor, Scott Vakulik, and I will have to sit and discuss going into fall. And then club sports is kind of in the same domain. As of right now, we're not allowing practices or anything, but we have gotten tons of reservation requests for club volleyball, reservation requests for club powerlifting, which is like our most active one here. So we'll have to cross that bridge when it gets there.
Eric Vaughn here at Truman State University, Northeast Missouri. For the most part, what we're doing for intramural sports, we're doing singles and doubles for the first half of fall and see how that goes. And then we'll be moving to small-sided games such as 4-on-4 sand volleyball, obviously with social distancing and certain precautions being taken. For facilities, group fitness and things like that, we are having our students register on IM Leagues using the fitness tab, setting up yoga at noon, yoga at 4:30, yoga at 5 with a certain instructor, having them sign up and then having a wait list. They have to be here 10 minutes before class. If they don't show up in the last 2 minutes before class, their spot gets taken and then the next person on the wait list gets bumped up and in. We're using a contactless swipe to check in and check out for the fitness classes. And then our capacity has gone from 30 down to 12 participants and 1 instructor. As in the weight room, we are mandating masks unless you were at a station working out. We're doing 2-person spotting instead of 1 person, so you're not directly over top of somebody. And then we're alternating every other treadmill. And let's see, I think that's about it. And club sports, we're not allowing any practices in our facilities as of right now.
I know that our plan is to do some similar things. Our group fitness classes will reduce the number of participants who are eligible to participate in those classes. We're also moving them to non-traditional spaces like our cycling studio, which is a converted racquetball court with 22 bicycles. We have explored and we'll be moving some bikes out of that location to, I've heard the pool deck, I've heard the arena, somewhere that we can fit more people spread out, more socially distanced, and still be able to provide some of those options for our participants. We'll be doing some larger format classes in our arena as well. Again, socially distanced, because the turnover rate for our HVAC unit in the arena and the annex is actually more than adequate. And so we're looking at non-traditional spaces to move our group exercise classes to. Our intramural sports, we've talked a little bit about earlier about like limitations that there may be, but they're also thinking outside the box and thinking some non-traditional sports. So thinking about bringing back like a punt, pass, and kick competition, where it's a little bit easier to do single participant or spaced out. We're thinking of doing like a chip and putt competition, buying some driving range mats and using those as chipping mats, and then buying and making basically a mini golf putt course at our outdoor facilities for some outside of the box competitions that we haven't done in a while. I think cornhole may be a very popular league this year. If we can figure out how to do it so that you're not sharing bags and maybe just swapping ends of the court every time. But I know that our programmers are thinking at some outside the box in-person engagement, not just relying on esport opportunities.
Hi, everybody. At WashU in St. Louis, we're doing very similar things to what everybody else has talked about. Something we're doing for group fitness as far as looking for kind of outside of the box places to hold it. We are going to try to do as many classes outdoors as possible. We are connected with athletics, so we have some space we could possibly use. We've also floated the idea of having tents that would be used, you know, basically in a variety of ways. And one of the big ones would be for our group fitness classes. We've also repurposed our 3-court gym because we're not doing basketball, we're not allowing volleyball. So we've repurposed it for as much space as possible. So we have a cycle studio, which we are now going to use for basically a studio for our online virtual offerings for group fitness. So that'll basically be like a recording studio. that's kind of away from everything. And we'll also have some of our Pilates classes in there, since those use much larger equipment that can be limited to 2 to 4 people. So we've put all of our cycling bikes on one of our courts, and then we've designated a third court to be used for our group fitness classes. And we've dropped the partition so we can have some separation.
And the last question that we had, that we pulled again from our survey, was, what are our team's plans if there's a confirmed case of COVID-19 inside of our facilities? Like, what is your plan if it comes out that there's been, or someone might come in and not necessarily be displaying symptoms, but during their time in our facility, their symptoms get worse. And so we've got about 9 minutes left in our time together. I know that we had said until 12:30, but I think the most of our roundtables go about an hour. So we got about 9 more minutes left in this, and was wondering what are everyone's plans were for if there was a confirmed case or developing issue with a COVID-19 positive person in your facilities.
I can speak a little bit about what we've been doing. I mean, TCU as a university has probably had over 150 student affairs staff trained to be contact tracers. And so when they get the positive cases, we have a hotline. They'll be reported. The investigators will go through and designate who is a contact. If they were to, because you have to sign up in advance to come work out here. And that is part of the reason, is they want to know who's in the building and who's been where. So really, unless you are told by a contact tracer has told you were a contact, which is found by an investigator, there's not something special or specific we would do here. I know me personally, I'm trying to keep my building managers away from each other as much as possible. Trying to not have them work doubles and things like that. But the investigator would be the one on the campus who would deem whether or not you've created a contact.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, Christy, we have been temp checking our employees as well as patrons that come and use the facility. As long as they don't go above, I can't remember the temperature range off the top of my head, don't go above that, then they're allowed in the facility. And we also have a symptom check-in poster that they have to visibly confirm right in front of our staff on whether they have none of those symptoms. I know with as you just talked about, trying to make sure that our staff doesn't work doubles or anything like that. What we did for our staff, so if you've ever been to our rec center, you'll realize we have a lot of sitting positions and a lot of standing positions because we have multiple entrances throughout the building. We thankfully shut down to just one entrance, which has been great. But as far as usually how it happens, if I work front door my first shift, which is a sitting position, then I'm going to work weight room, which is a standing position, the next shift. So what we did was that, we're not allowing people to change shifts or change shifts if they're working doubles. So if you come in working front door, you stay working front door your entire double shift, and that's it. It took a while for the staff to understand the reason why, and just talked about we just don't want a lot of moving bodies here and there. We haven't had any confirmed cases through our rec center. We've had a lot of student staff that was hey, I was with so-and-so and that person tested positive, or that person was with someone that tested positive. So just to be safe, we told them, we had them self-quarantine for 2 weeks. And then we take a more active approach with helping them get their shifts covered, if that happens. And since then, we've been pretty lucky so far.
We are not doing temperature checks on anyone. The university has you're supposed to self-assess yourself every day, and you're supposed to take your temperature before you come to work and stuff like that. I mean, as a contact tracer, I can tell you any positive case I've talked to has yet to have a temperature. So I'm
Something we're doing for our staff in our facility, like our front desk, we are scheduling in pods. So we will have 5 or 6 people in a pod together that will always work together. And they will have 2 people that will be able to cover here and there in case we need to. But those 6 people will always be working with the same people. That way there's no cross-contamination or anything like that.
And Eric, you're going to be able to carry that philosophy into the school year?
Yeah, so pretty much what we're doing is we have our students come in during our all-staff meeting, which will be coming up this Sunday, and we'll have sign-up sheets. There'll be 6 slots in each, like Monday, Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 or whatever the slot is going to be, and then they will sign up, and then those 6 people will get those shifts. So if there's 2 slots, 2 people will get scheduled, and then there'll be 4 people that'll be able to be covered, and we'll just rotate throughout the day.
So Brian Mills, UH Clear Lake, we actually just got off of a campus town hall meeting this morning. So I'm going to share this with everybody because I think it's important. Our university has contact tracers for students and employees, but they do not have a contact tracing mechanism in place for non-students and non-employees. So I know some schools are not allowing, community members and things like that. But if you are allowing community members, you may want to reach out to your emergency management or whoever is in charge of your campus's reopening plan. Because I brought this up 2 weeks ago and asked what happens when our non-student, non-employee members potentially have an exposure. How do they report that to us? And the answer I got was, we don't know, we'll figure it out. And that was 2 weeks ago. And then today they again made no mention of it. So if you don't know what your campus's response plan is going to be, or if there's not a mechanism for non-students and non-employees to be able to communicate with y'all, you may want to reach out and get that figured out really quick. And I'll be quiet.
Oh, I love watching that mustache talk.
It is glorious, my friend.
Our plan is we had started with temperature checks, and we'll be actually doing away with them per guidance from our campus medical staff because of the recording of medical personal data. But our student staff will be asked to fill out a questionnaire before they arrive to their facilities, and then we will be temperature checking those student employees, but our participants we will not. But like some others have mentioned, we have stopped providing community memberships. So if you're not a current student, faculty, or staff member at the University of Texas at Austin, you won't have access to our facilities. And then if we find that, or any campus facility finds that there's a positive test, then like our facility would be shut down for 24 hours, clean top to bottom. And then EHS, University Environmental Health and Safety, would come in and do one final walkthrough before we're eligible to reopen. Those were all of the questions that we had pulled together, and we have about a minute or so left in our time together, and we appreciate the time that you all have spent with us today. If there are questions we did not address, we are most likely, this facilities team is looking at hosting a future roundtable, so please feel free to send them to us or to reach out to us if you need to. I do believe Jenna asked for anyone who wants this information shared with them to put your email in the chat below. We can send you the slide deck. We can send you the results of our survey. And that would also be a good opportunity for us to follow up with any questions that you might have. So that will wrap up our time today. We do appreciate all of your time, and thank you for the last hour. Hopefully this information and this network is useful to everybody as we get closer to our individual reopening plans and phases. So we wish you continued success and luck and health, and stay safe. And we, again, thank you for your participation and for being a strong Region 4 network. Michael, if you're still on, can you hang on for a second?
Miss you, Ross. I love your table that you built.
Hey, buddy, I'm just trying to keep up with you. That's all.
It's too damn hot to be outside building stuff, man. I'm saving all mine for October.
Brother, we built a pergola and a table, and we're just getting all sorts of fancy.
Dude, the pergola. Mwah. But that
turned out good. It turned out good.
Yeah, so I bought a couple gallons of epoxy, so I'm going to start getting in some epoxy resin tables and stuff.
Just don't get it in the beer. It's gonna be hard to come out.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, bud. Thanks.
Bye.
Hi, boss lady.
I'm not unmuted. I was over here like, oh, nice job. I'm muted over here like a dum-dum.
Hearing it again.
That was good. Man, roundtables are so hard, like in person or Zoom, but I thought you guys did a great job.
Oh, Michael. I was hoping he was gonna do push-ups throughout the whole thing, but he didn't.
You know, I thought about it, but then I realized that that would be very intimidating. So I was like,
You didn't even curl your little mini toolbox, bro. We talked about this.
I mean, we did. I mean, I had it ready just to go. You know what? Next round table, I'm gonna do like squats with it.
That is the cutest little toolbox I think I've ever seen.
Hashtag facilities life.
Yeah, our director, Dr. Jenkins, funny backstory. He asked me like, hey, like grab a tape measure, let's go measure something. And our actual toolbox is in Scott's office, so it's locked up. And I was like, well, Scott's not here yet. I don't have one. He's like, a facility person doesn't have a toolbox? Interesting, very interesting. And that's like one of his go-to quick says that it's like, all right, it's trouble. Our ops staff made a big fuss about it and was just like, like, well, we have a surprise for Michael. And I walk into the break room, they give me this little thing, and I started off in ops, so it was just kind of like a rec sports bar mitzvah for me. But I got a
roll of duct tape, little tape measure,
independent screwdriver, some pliers, and
nice.
Great.
Nice. I'm impressed. I only have the only thing that I have in that I walk around with that I have in my desk is my tape measure. I don't have myself a little toolbox. Now I might need to get myself one. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've stepped it up. I have a digital tape measure.
Ooh,
I'm fancy. I don't got time for like this stuff right here. I just point and shoot. Forget that nonsense. I've cut my finger in a tape measure more times than I count. I care to count. So.
Whoops.
I can send you the presentation and make sure that you have that.
Perfect. Oh, I should probably stop recording, huh?